Hello everyone, it's Robin, the Artsy Bohemian. I'm here in my studio in Los Angeles, California. It's Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day to everyone in the US. And it's been good because everything feels so weird. So coming into my studio and making a video makes everything feel a little bit more normal. So it wasn't hard for me to figure out what to do for the Tuesday tutorial because I had an overwhelming response to show you how I made this. This was what I had shown you in the last video. So I'm going to give you the breakdown of how I made this. I used mostly all the digital paper from My Porch Prints. I'll put the links down below. Most of it was from Grandma's Attic, and so we'll go ahead and get started. So I do have the measurements here, but I will put them down below. Those of you who know me know I'd rather poke my eyes out than measure anything, so that was kind of hard for me to do, but I did do it. I measured it for you. So I am going to go ahead and what you want to do is get your white cardstock out. You're going to use 2 sheets to start with, 8.5 by 11, and you're going to trim a 1/2 inch off of each piece. I already kind of started all of this because I didn't want to take too much time just cutting stuff in front of you. So it's 2 pieces of white cardstock. It'll look like this. This one's already been cut. And like I said, you're going to trim a 1/2 inch off. So that means you're going to have 8.5 by 10.5 to start with. All right, and then you're going to take your scoreboard and you're going to score both of those sheets of cardstock in the exact same measurements. The first one is going to be at 4 1/4. Second one is going to be at 6 1/4, and the third one is going to be at 8 1/4. Once you have scored that, you have to fold it one way this way, and one way this way, and then this way, so it's like an accordion. And then you're going to cut it on a diagonal, and I know that some of you had asked for proper instruction on that, and so I figured out a fairly easy way for you to do that. So what you're going to do once you've scored this, I'm going to take this off here. You are going to measure from the left to the right and mark the 4.5, I believe it is. Let's see, score, yeah. Yeah, let's see, this one right here, I have it at 4.5. And I'm just going to have a pencil here somewhere, or a pen. I don't really want to mark it with a pen, but I'll just do it really lightly. So measure 4.5 inches. This is one mark here, and that's from the left hand side to the right. If you're doing when you're making the right hand side of your fold. The other one, I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter because you can fold it the same way, because they're going to be going like this. I don't want to confuse you. So 4.5 over, and then you're going to go on the bottom and measure 2 1/4 inches up. So the mark that you make here and the mark you make here is where you're going to make your line, make your diagonal. And then you're going to cut. So I'm going to take my ruler and make a line from that point to this point, and then cut it. probably keep this to make this the part that we're going to be using for the rooftop on the top. So once it's like this, you're going to overlap the two and you're going to get this cascading effect. So what I want you to do now is you're going to glue these two pieces together. And then you're going to cut some decorative paper, and I will have the measurements. And you can use all the same decorative paper if you want, or you can use, you know, 2 or 3 like I did. And they are all from My Porch Prints that I used. I really don't like using digitals for my work because I want it to be really original. But these are so beautiful, and Stephanie had contacted me to see if I wanted to become, you know, on her design team, and I had already purchased from her before in the past, and I was happy to do it because I really do love her papers. They're very pretty. And then there's always, if need be, there's always a tutorial in the digital pack, and she usually has lots of extra fun little ephemera pieces too. So there is that. And basically these folds here are approximately 2 inches wide, except for the last 2. This is 8.5 by 4.5 inches right here. So I already cut everything out, and like I said, I will give you the measurements down below. I'll tell you here right now if you want. So like I said, the centerpiece is 8.5 by 4.5. And then you're going to make 2 pieces for these long ones here. These are 2 by 8.5. And then these 2 pieces right here are 2 by 6 3/4. And then the flaps here are a little bit wider because they overlap, but and those are 2 1/4 by 4.5. Because I'm covering this one up and I'm going to close it up, I didn't want to waste the paper, so I just cut it to fit so that it would still cover it but not show. I mean, you know, not waste here. But this one is also 8.5 by 2 on the inside. I tended not to cover one side here, like here on this one. I didn't add anything to this. You can add extra if you want to right here. And so go ahead and cut those out. I'll wait for you. Haha. Alright, so I'm going to glue this down. This is the one that's 4.5 by 8.5. I already cut everything out at a time. I'll go over the measurements as I put them in. When I originally made this, I just kind of laid the paper on it and glued it down, and then I cut it. That's my way of measuring things. And you'll notice there's a little bit of a border. I don't really care. I mean, if you wanted to be exact, you could add, you know, maybe 1/8 of an inch on there, but I didn't want to do that. So here's all the little pre-cut pieces that I did. Let's see, this one goes here. And I did kind of overlap that a little bit more. It's nice to have a bone folder to just, I kind of like overlapped that a little bit more than I should have, but I can just trim that off. And then, so what I do is, you'll notice that there's no diagonal on there. What I do is I will fold this over once this way, and then I'll fold it over again, and then I'll cut it. And save these little roof looking pieces, because you might use them for little accents. There was a little extra on here, so I'm just trimming it off. So you have that, and then I'm going to add this one right here. This one is the 6.5 by 2. And let's see, this one right here. This one, yeah. Cut this off. Printing out these digitals takes a lot of ink too, as you know if you print out digitals. But they're so pretty, and the quality of Stephanie's digitals are really nice. Almost done with that part, and then I'm gonna do one on one side and one on the other side. Yeah, I really messed up when I cut these out. That wasn't the way it was when I did them earlier. So and then this one is the one that is a little bit different. It's 2.25 wide. Is this one here? And you're going to do 2 of them. 2.25 wide by 4.5. This one. So I'm going to glue this here and then the other one on this side, and I'll be back. Okay, so I have the rest of the decorative paper glued on here, and this is what it looks like. if you don't close up one end like I did here. One thing I wanted to show you too is I noticed that there's a little bit of white showing here. So what you can do if you have little pieces that you want to kind of cover up, so these little pieces that you saved on the side, you can glue those down in with the contrasting paper, just to kind of, it'll give it some added interest, and it covers up some little mistakes maybe that you might have made, that I made. I think they're a little bit, these are, you could make pockets, but it might become too bulky. Alright, so now it's just a matter of embellishing. I'm going to be using this as a book page, a journal page, like I had explained last time, and let's see, oh yeah, right here. So it's going to go, the original one I made is going to go inside a folded file folder, and I'm going to glue it down. But you can make this into a card if you want to. And if you do, then you would want to cover the back as well. But I'm not going to, because I'm not going to be using it as a card. So you can take one of these pointy pieces that you had cut off and use it like I did here for this one. I added this turret, like a roof, so it looks like a house. I love house shapes. And I just took some extra cardstock and glued it on the back, since it's not going to be shown. But obviously if you are going to be using it for a card, you would want to cover it. So I'm going to see if maybe I can use one of these pieces. Might be too bendy. Actually, it'll probably work just perfect. So I just took some of the cardstock and made a little triangle. So once you have the piece of the triangle cut out, you're going to glue it down, and you want to overlap it a little bit in the back, and then you can cut off the excess that you don't need. And then you can put some decorative paper on there and decorate it. And look at it upside down to make sure it's centered. It's a little trick. You can look at it in a mirror. And then, see, one of these pieces will fit probably right up there. I might, and then you could kind of do a couple of them if you wanted. We're going to cover most of it up with lace anyhow. These are crooked. Oh, I'll just leave it like that. And we're gonna add the lace on here. And like I said earlier, this one opens all the way on this side, but I didn't do that on this one. This one opens more like a little tiny page. And all I did was glue it down on this side. But we're not gonna do that until we add all the lace. So just use whatever lace you want. So I'm gonna see what I did on here. And I just use fabric tack for this. This one, 3 or 4 here. Didn't I overlap that? And let's see, I'm not sure if I'm going to use, I might use this one here, or they have another one that's super fluffy, but it might be a little bit too bulky. I also have, I was thinking of using this one too. This one's kind of bulky too. I think I'll do the smaller one. So I'm gonna cut these all and then glue them down, and I'll show you a couple of them, but I'm gonna go off camera and just glue them the rest. So I'm gonna cut them at a diagonal. This glue is so messy. And you can go in and you know, distress it if you want with ink. once these are all glued down, I'm going to go back in and trim them. You know, like the ends here. But, you know, you're just going to keep adding one piece at a time on a diagonal. Cut it to fit, and then glue it down. You're going to do that on both sides. And then I did add a little extra here. I added more here, like on this diagonal, and I added some on the bottom as well here. I didn't add any on the inside because it was kind of covered. So I'm going to go ahead and add this thicker one, and you just cut it the same and kind of line it up the same, you know, on a diagonal like this, and then cut it and then glue it down. And I am adding some to the edge here. I didn't do it on this one, and I'm going to be adding some to the bottom. So I'm really liking the way the contrasting trim looks on here. So I will be back and after I have glued all of this down, all of the different lace. Okay, I'm putting on the last trim here. And then I'm going to match it up with this one. About there. And then I'm going to go back in and trim the pieces that are there's overages of. So there's a little overage here. And here. Then we're gonna just start adding some of the paper elements and an envelope onto the outside. I did add a little pocket here, a vinyl pocket, that if you don't have this, you don't have to do that. You can make maybe another pocket out of paper, but these are kind of neat because they're see-through, and I got them at Target. I'm pretty sure you can't get them anymore, but I got them at Target during the school year last year, I believe. And another thing you could use is vellum, because it's see-through. And I just added one of the Fussy Cut Flowers from Stephanie's kits, the Fussy Cut Flowers. Really cool digital too. So we'll go ahead and just start adding. I already cut one out. This is one of the envelopes from my grandma's attic, and I cut it out already, and I glued it, and I added some embellishments to it. These are also this cute little tiny envelope with the letter in it is also part of one of her kits, and I'm going to glue it down here. Just have to make sure that it won't interfere with opening the flap, so I'm going to probably do it right about there. And I already inked the edges. If you want to do that, you can. Make sure it's centered. And add the glue. And I did add some really cool like faux metal looking corners that she has in the kit as well, to embellish it a little bit more. Oops, I should have put some, I'm gonna have to do that real quick. You have to add a tie to it. So that was an instant tie. Had some lace. So before you add the envelope, you want to add a tie there underneath it. Because we're going to be tying it to the side. Might as well do the back too, because the back is where you're going to add the other tie. And since it's going to be glued down, I don't need to worry about covering it. So I think that will be good. Just going to cover this for right now because I don't want it to get glue anywhere. And then the here's what the little ends look like. So I'm going to cut some of those out and add them as embellishments. My glue isn't going all over like it is. If you guys have any suggestions on how to make this glue not ooze out all over the place, please tell me. It drives me crazy. I mean, putting the lid on helps, but I always lose the lid, so kind of try to just stop it with some paper usually. Isn't that cute? That looks kind of neat. I might put one up here and see. I'm gonna stick something in here so it doesn't keep oozing out. it's not. Cut 4 of them out. If you have old-fashioned looking, you know, photo corners, you could use those too. That looks cute there. So that's cute. It opens up and you can add a tag or something in there. I have some already cut out somewhere. And what else did I do on here? Okay, so I know what I did. These are really cool. These are also a separate download. I cut a bunch out already, but they're tags, different they're called number labels, mini size. And then she also has these other ones. I already cut them in strips, but these are in French, a lot of them. Like, they look like vintage address plates. So I added one of these, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that to this. I had printed them on parchment paper, parchment cardstock, 110 pound. Printed them out, and they looked good, but then I wanted them to look even more grungy, so I spritzed some coffee on them and let them dry. Let's see, I think I had cut some of these out already. Okay, over here. Let's see here. You can take these and then take your scissors and kind of rough them up if you want to. You can also take some sandpaper and rough them up if you want. And then, you know, add a little bit more distress to them. Because I had put one over here. I don't like that one there. Maybe this one. If I cut it, did I cut it? It's really small. Oh, I think I used one of the smaller ones here. There's a couple different sizes. Super cool. Like this. Just cutting little bits of the edges off so it's not so pointy. I might do a little distressing. And a little tatting below it, maybe. Doesn't do anything really. I'm gonna grab some cheesecloth. So I'm gonna see if I put a little bit of cheesecloth under there, if it kind of makes it a little bit more fun. And this has been, of course, distressed and dyed. Yeah, it's a little bit more fun. I'll do that. There's certain things that you can always depend on if you think you're missing something, it's just not making you go, oh, I really like that. Cheesecloth is one of them for me. Numbers, adding numbers to things always makes things kind of fun because they're not too distracting. They just add a little bit more texture to your piece. So those are a couple things I always kind of add when I'm feeling like I need to add something extra. And then I will go ahead and add, let's see here, the little vinyl pocket. So what I did was I had cut it in half because it was too long, and it has a sticky on the back of it, and then that way I can add a little flower. They have to be pretty small. One of the smaller fussy cut flowers. Could stick a little bit of lace in there if you wanted to, almost like a little hanky. But I kind of like the way the flowers look, so it's just something else to think about. And let's see, I have an envelope that I use just to put the fussy cuts in. I'm not sure if I have any that are skinny enough to go in this pocket. Thought I had a really tiny one. She has these super cute mermaids that I love, and I will be doing some kind of tutorial on that too, maybe some kind of mermaid journal. I like them because if you just cut them in half, you can still use them and they don't have to be a mermaid. You can use them in other things that aren't mermaid themed. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to cut some flowers that aren't so big. These are a little bit too big to stick in there. Oh, this one may work. Just part of it. I might have to cut it. Yeah, it's a little bit too big, but you kind of get the idea, right? And then what else did I do on here? Oh, I did add another corner up here on this side. Get this out of the way. Did I do that right? Let's see. This. All those little details make it kind of come together. In the inside, I added a vintage glassine envelope that's just from my personal stash as a pocket right here, and I like it again because it's translucent, so you can still kind of see what's inside of the pocket. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue that down. So I fussy cut some little flowers from My Porch Prints Fussy Cut Flower digital, and I inserted them there. There's 2 of them. I like how they kind of are muted, and depending, you can control the paper you're going to be using so they're not shiny. So I believe I printed these also on parchment cardstock, so they have an antique look. And then here's another flower I cut out. This is just from paper that I'm gonna add to the glassine bag, and I'm also going to add one of these stickers that I've had for a gazillion years from Mrs. Grossman's. You know when you first start collecting stuff, everything's precious and you just don't use it, and then now 20 years later like, okay, start using your stuff. They're really pretty labels, and I'm just gonna put that there and glue all this down. And a trick when you're putting glue onto a pocket, don't glue it all the way to the edge. Leave about a 1/4 inch, because it allows you to put things in there without it coming off, without the envelope coming off. And I added a belly band to this one on the side, but I think I'm going to glue this down first. So this is completely optional, you don't need to do this. But it gives you another pocket here. So if you wanted to put a pencil in there or something, you could. That's a little too thick, but you could use hot glue if you wanted to. I don't know if I would sew it, but this glue dries super fast. So glue that down and hold it. It's coming along, it looks pretty, I like it. And then these just tie over to the side. So I'm going to put the belly band in, and whatever you're going to be adding to the belly band, you should insert it there to know that it'll fit. So I have in the kit, she also has these cute miniature journal covers that you can make a little notebook out of, which is what I did on this one, like I had showed you in the last video. So you just want to make sure that it'll fit in there, that it's not too tight. And so similar to this is also what I'm going to be doing here. So I just cut a piece of lace and I'm going to glue it down on either side. And we're almost done, I think. I like this lace because it has a natural curve to it already. And I'm making a little bit loose to make sure it's centered. So this is also from one of her collections, and I just cut the image out with a decal scissor. I sewed it, and I sewed this vintage looking postcard. It's not a real postcard, just to the back, so it could be a journaling card. And I squished some lace and some velvet here, and this is also in one of her kits, this faux ruler, so that'll go in there. And I have some of these cute tags from her kits. And remember how I was saying you could always add something if you want to add it a little extra. A number always kind of makes things pop without distracting from your original piece. So also another thing I did that I realized I forgot was I added more trim to the bottom here, and I added some trim here just to kind of complete the look. So it's all on the edges here. And I did glue this lace down to the envelope a little bit more so it wouldn't move, or wouldn't be too floppy. So I'm going to just kind of show you the close-up here. It opens up like that and like that. Put a couple things in there. So instead of having journal pages, you have little tuck spots and little tags that you can journal on if you want to. I like it. I like the way it came out. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm excited because I have another project already started that I'm excited to show you for the next tutorial. And I'm going to just show you it's not done at all. It's just kind of the skeleton of it. But I saw, I can't remember the people's names, but I saw somebody make something like it that I wanted to copy. It doesn't look like theirs at all, but I think I found it because it was a My Porch Prints kit that she had used. And I'll give the names when I do the tutorial next week. But aren't these cute? So this is the next thing I'll be working on, and this one has no kits. I'm not using any kits. I'm using all really old, actually antique envelopes, except this one isn't. So it's one of those really fun types of things that that just kind of keeps flipping open and flipping open and flipping open. And this is an old envelope here. This is an original image from a really old manuscript, and then it opens up here. So all of this will be done by the next time I see you guys, and I'll show you how to make it. And giving credit to the people that I was inspired by to make this. So please subscribe and click the bell icon for Bohemian, weekly Bohemian, unconventional Bohemian type of crafting and flip throughs. And thank you all for your kind comments. You guys are very sweet, and I really appreciate you watching my videos. And also, don't forget, I have an online school. If you like my style, then you might want to check out my online school for unconventional Bohemian style junk journals and jewelry. Bye.